Namaste, everyone. I'm Lady.
And I'm Alana.
And this is Spookery, Part 2. Part 2! Man. Guys, welcome to Part 2 of Rajneeshpuram.
I know. So much has happened in Part 1.
We haven't even gotten started yet. Like, I'll let you know what I knew this cult as when I got started, what I called this cult. We haven't even gotten there, but what I knew them as isn't the worst thing that they did.
That's crazy.
It's a wild ride. It's mind-boggling that there are no trigger warnings at all through any of this, because it's so much happens and it's so shocking, but it's all like, it wasn't terrible.
It's like it just it toes the line.
It does. It's kind of just in like, you do what now? It's kind of like scolding a child, but like in terms of a cult.
Yeah.
Perfect. So while there are no trigger warnings this episode, I will say, guys, if you were eating while you were listening to this episode, I do not recommend eating during this episode. Nothing bad happens, but we do talk about food at some point, and I just don't want you guys to be like eating your favorite lunch. I don't want you to be like, man, this is my favorite meal of all time and I love it, and then you hear some of the story and you're just like, I'm not hungry anymore and now you've ruined this meal for me. I do not want any of those messages. Please do not write in and tell me that I've ruined your lunch. I'm not about that.
No, you've been warned. If you choose to eat past this point, it is upon your own risk.
Yes, and you'll know it. The moment will come. It'll be very quick. But I just so that you know, there are points in this particular episode where we'll be talking about food, and I don't recommend eating during them. You'll know when you can see it coming a mile away. But I just keeping you guys in the loop. So with that mild eating warning.
Yeah, very mild.
Very mild eating warning. We'll do a quick recap of the first part, but if you haven't listened to that, please go back and listen. It's the whole setup. It's how we got to Oregon. It's how we set up Rajneeshpuram. So please go back, go listen to the first part. It's crazy. It's wild. Like, you won't be disappointed, but you'll need it for this part because we're picking up right where we left off.
And it's a whole episode full of context. You guys will love it.
You know I love the context. Okay, so we are talking about Rajneeshpuram, which is a religious commune that was set up in Oregon in 1981. Before that, we talked about the cult's leader, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, who he was, where he was born, how he became this spiritual guru, how he earned the nickname the Sex Guru. The commune that he set up in Pune, India, known as the Pune Ashram, him meeting his later second-in-command, Ma'anad Shila, how the two of them came together, and then how they made the decision to move into the United States, into Oregon. We talked about them moving in to their ranch, which they promptly named Rajneeshpuram, which is the name of the city that we will be talking about. We talked about them coming to a head with their new neighbors in Antelope, Oregon, who have now become Rajneesh, Oregon. And we talked about the Bhagwan Rajneesh is taking a step out of the spotlight, and his lieutenant, Ma'anad Shila, taking a step into the spotlight, where she began doing TV interviews. She began getting more revered as a cult leader in her own right. And yeah, we kind of talked about her shift in power, where she became just as revered. Her personal home grew in size, and people respected her just as much as the Rajneesh. And now she had the difficult task of ensuring that the cult's demands were met, which are, they wanted Rajneeshpuram to be recognized as a proper city within Oregon. So we're going to pick up right where we left off.
Right.
Perfect. So, at this time, Sheila has a very difficult task ahead of her. She's like, okay, how do I make it so that, one, we get our demands met, and how do we battle this ruly crowd in Antelope, and later on a place called the Dales in Oregon, which is kind of the voting hub of Oregon. So, after her big televised, like, I'm here, I'm the next in command, I'm the power, she uncovered her next grand plan to battle with the state of Oregon.
Okay.
So, 1984, the commune begins shuttling in unhoused communities into the commune. So they're picking up people who don't have homes, they're going to homeless shelters, they're picking up huge amounts of people, and they are shuttling them into Rajneeshpuram. The cult would visit shelters in Phoenix, Arizona, Dallas, Texas, San Diego, California, everywhere. And they would just grab these massive groups of people, load them onto a Greyhound bus, and ferry them up to Oregon.
That's unsettling.
Yeah. They actually began handing out flyers, and they were like, hey, come hang out with us. All you have to do is dress this way. You might get a new name. We'll give you food. We're going to give you shelter. We're going to give you everything. And they wouldn't discriminate either. They rounded up men, women, veterans, unemployed, drug addicts, every race, every gender. All, like, they promised food. They promised housing, healthcare, hygiene, shelter. And there was only one condition. Just come join our cult. Just come follow Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. That's all you have to do.
Oh, is that all?
That's all you had to do. And people came in busloads. This was a massive fucking deal. Like,
yeah,
free food, free shelter, healthcare, therapy groups to help you with drug addiction. That was part of that.
Oh.
Like, they were like, we're going to take care of you. We're going to welcome you into it, like, with open arms. You're going to be part of our community. We will take care of you. Just wear these clothes. Come hang out with this guy. Come stand outside on this road. Watch this guy pass by in his Rolls Royce and wave. That's all you have to do.
Wow.
And then people came. And actually, many people found a better way of life here. There was a massive sense of community. People had, like, a new revitalized purpose of life. Some actually found religion. They were like, actually, this like, I like these philosophies. I like these ideas. I like these teachings. And they were cared for. So...
yeah.
When they got to the commune, they were like, oh, I know we said we only asked for one thing, but there's actually one more thing we want you to do. I hope that's okay. It's not that hard. You just, like, we just want you to do the second thing for us. And they were like, what is it? And we're like, hey, if you are an American citizen, we need you to vote.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But this is not antelope votes. This isn't, disillusionment, the dissolving of Antelope, Oregon, now Rajneesh, Oregon. No, ma'am, this was for control of the county.
The whole damn county.
The whole county they were going for. They were going for Wasco County.
Wow.
Yeah. So, the plan was the Rajneeshis were going to put forward 2 Rajneeshi members to run for 2 vacant commissioner seats on the Wasco County board. They were going to do it legit. They were going to do write-ons. They were going to get these Rajneeshis elected as a write-on vote.
Do it legit, we say.
Yeah, legit.
Like getting buses of people and stuff.
But I mean, like, at least they were going for American citizens. They're like, hey, we just want you to come in here. We'll take care of you. Just vote for our candidates in this local election. Like, we're just going to get them in. We're going to get them elected. And that's a better way of life for all of us. It's in your best interest to make sure that these people get elected.
Gosh, that's so scary.
Yeah. And of course, Oregon got news of this. And they were like, no. That's not how that works. And they especially didn't like it because they actually stood a really, really good chance of succeeding.
Yeah, that's why it's so scary. Is you've seen how quick these other votes got, like, kind of passed in their favor. It's just like, wow, this probably could have happened had the state not stepped in, I'm assuming.
But also, voting rules at the time were, 1, you had to be a citizen.
Okay.
2, you had to be 18 years of age or older.
Okay.
And 3, you had to be an Oregon resident.
Ah.
For 20 days.
For at least 20 days.
So you had to live in Oregon for 20 days, and then you could vote in Oregon. That's all you had to do.
Those are pretty, like, low requirements for voting.
The bar is so low.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just kind of the theme throughout this. The bar was low, and the Rajneeshis took advantage of it, and Oregon was like, oh my god, that bar was low.
Yeah. Oh god.
So, commune took their newfound members, and there were like hundreds of them, hundreds of these unhoused folk, and they took them to register to vote in Wasco County. And they were immediately turned away on suspected fraudulent voting attempts.
Yeah, when you just show up with buses full of people, hi, I have all these people that would just love to register to vote, and they're just like, yeah.
But I think if the Wasco County clerk actually got a tip off that this was happening, the government was like, hey, we think this is what's gonna happen, and like the Rajneeshis, I don't think were quiet about what they were gonna do. I think they were like, we're gonna write on some candidates and get like people elected. I think this was part of like Sheila's fault. Is like she talked about it on the news, so people knew what was going on. So immediately the county clerk was like, no. Blanket statement, all new applications, not just you guys, all new applications to register to vote in Wesco County are being denied. Blanket. Like, no more registering to vote. No.
Wow.
And Rajneeshpuram was like, oh, I don't know what do we do about this?
Yeah.
So, because of this, suddenly all of these new people, these new members of the commune, could no longer uphold their promise to the community.
Oh, gosh.
They couldn't vote, so what were they there for?
Yeah.
So this caused a lot of disquiet in Rajneeshpuram. There were these people going like, well, now you can't vote, what are you here for? And then people were like, oh shit, now I can't vote, what am I here for?
Yeah.
So a lot of fighting started, a lot of arguments, a lot of physical altercations actually broke out.
Oh.
One of the unhoused members actually attacked Sheila outright, and he managed to get his hands around her neck, but he was quickly sedated by the peace force.
Jeez, the peace force.
The peace force, yeah. He was quickly sedated by the peace force and local doctors, and he was driven out of the commune and placed unconscious on a park bench, and he was just left there.
That's chilling. Okay, they're like, yep, we don't need you anymore. Let's just dispose of this. Let's just litter.
They drugged him and put him unconscious on a park bench in the Dalles, which is this voting area.
That's unreal.
Well, after that, it was decided that they weren't going to risk that again. Someone nearly killed the second in command to the cult.
Yeah.
So it would be in everyone's best interest if they do the same to all of the unhoused within the complex.
Okay, so they invite these homeless people in, going, yep, you can come here, you can stay for free, we're gonna feed you, we're gonna house you, we're gonna love you, and then the minute that they're, like, don't completely satisfy whatever need they had for them, they're like, let's get the fuck out.
Yeah, they didn't even tell them it was get the fuck out. They were all drugged with Haldol, which was put Haldol. It is a psychiatric medication that works by helping to restore the balance of certain natural substances in the brain. Okay, so Haldol side effects is sudden mood changes, agitation, hallucinations, unusual thoughts or behavior, twitching, or uncontrollable movements of your eyes, lips, tongue, face, arms, and legs, stiffness of your neck, tightness in your throat, trouble breathing and swallowing, sudden weakness, ill feeling, fever, chill, sore throat, swollen gums. It doesn't say that but it's a sedative, essentially. It's to help calm your body down. That's what
Jesus Christ, that's not what I thought it was, to be perfectly honest with you, but that is so much worse than what I thought it was, actually.
Yeah.
The side effects of that are extreme. Why does this drug even exist? This just sounds like it just is awful for the human consumption. Like,
yeah, but this is the drug that they used on these homeless people. They put it in beer. So they put an antipsychosis drug in beer. So I'm sure that's two drugs reacting. And they completely, they sedated this entire homeless population. And then with the Haldol in their system, they were driven out of Rajneeshpuram and dropped off in the Dalles.
They just literally loaded up all these people and then just, piled them up in the middle of nowhere? Legit?
Yeah, they just put them in the Dalles, which was this tiny other community in Wesco County, which is, unfortunately, that was the hub of the political activity in Wesco County. That was where the county clerk was. That was where, you went to vote. This was their next hurdle. This was their next antelope, pretty much. And they just loaded all these homeless people up, put them in a bus, shipped them off to the Dalles, and they caused a mini homeless crisis in the Dalles.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Eventually, the locals did raise and donate enough money to get all of the people back to the cities they were originally from. So they did actually manage to get everyone back to their original city. But even still,
the fact they had to do that.
This was in winter as well. This happened in winter.
Jesus.
Yeah, so they shipped everyone off in the middle of the night in freezing temperatures, dropped everyone off, and it was up to the Dalles to return people to where they were, take care of them, make sure that they were cared for until they could go back to where they came from.
So how did they not face repercussions for this? Because I'm pretty sure if I drugged someone and then went and dropped them off in a different location than where they were at originally, I feel like I'd be in pretty big trouble for that.
Proof.
So,
what proof did they have?
The 600 witnesses that just got drugged. I don't know, maybe them.
They didn't know that they were drugged. They just woke up in the Dalles.
Sure.
They didn't know that the drug had been put in their beer. They were just suddenly they were somewhere else.
Oh my gosh, these poor folks.
Yeah. They eventually, it does come out that this is what happened, because of course I'm telling you about it, so we know about it. But at the time, it was just like, okay, I guess they're done with this program. And this program is actually called Share a Home. This is what this movement was called, to get these homeless people into Rajneeshpuram. But yeah. So after the catastrophic failure of the Share a Home program, there was a massive shift in how lectures were conducted inside Rajneeshpuram. So Sheila began giving talks that were focused a lot more on aggression. They talked about violence and killing for their right to worship. And the shift began to unsettle a lot of the followers. They were like, this is getting a little weird.
Yeah, that's like a humongous shift. Like, absolutely gymongous.
Yeah, it's just like, guys, love your neighbors, peace and love. Maybe we should kill them.
If they refuse your right, you just murder them.
Yeah. But of course, Sheila's also the only person who could communicate with Rajneesh. So they were like, is this the Bhagwan's word? Or is this Sheila's word? Or is this a combination of them? Like, is this what he wants? Is this... like, what's going on there?
Yeah.
And so this kind of started a little bit of a crack inside Rajneeshpuram. It's a small one at first, but this is kind of the beginning of the crack, where it's like we've suddenly gained a bunch of followers and then they're all gone again. And now we're talking about violence and fighting back and arming. Like, we've got guns now, but now we're talking about using them against the Dals.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of talk about there being a silent takeover. Like, maybe Sheila's not being so forthcoming. Maybe she's talking about personal beliefs rather than Rajneesh's beliefs.
Well, I'm glad that they questioned, because it sounds sussy-bussy.
Yeah. So now we're at the end of 1984. So the Wesco county election fast approaching. The Share a Home thing, huge bust. They can't even register to vote. They're out of here. So now people in the county are investigating Rajneeshpuram and being like, like, is there something happening here?
Yeah.
Because, like, that was a really weird thing you did. So they actually, they send commissioners into Rajneeshpuram, and they're actually writing up housing citations. They're looking for, like, is there something menacing going on? Why do you have all these guns? And then something really strange starts happening.
Yeah.
People in the Dals begin to come down with a mysterious illness.
Oh, no.
Symptoms are headaches, vomiting, nausea, chills, diarrhea. And it was spreading like wildfire.
Oh, gosh.
So by September the 24th, 1984, more than 150 people were ill.
Jesus.
By the end of September, 751 cases were reported.
Okay, that's like some gigantic numbers for just a small county.
That's 6 days. That's a difference of 6 days. Yeah. This illness did not discriminate. Victims ranged from a newborn baby of 2 days old to an 87-year-old.
What?
At its peak, 45 people were hospitalized. Nobody died.
I guess that's good, but what was the cause? What was happening?
Food poisoning. Food poisoning.
That's it?
Extensive testing revealed that every single victim was infected with salmonella.
Oh, gosh.
Specifically, Salmonella enterica. This branch of salmonella comes from domesticated livestock, such as cattle or poultry, but cats and rodents can also become infected.
Okay.
Humans can catch this by being close proximity to farm animals or in a veterinary clinic.
Okay.
But last I checked, the entire city of the Dells aren't farmers or vet workers.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah.
Well, turns out something was up with the local eateries in town. After extensive research, they found out that actually several restaurants in the Dalles were hotspots of infection. So people would go to these restaurants, and then shortly after, they would immediately come down with this illness. So now it's like, okay, is there a patient zero who's just going to these restaurants? Or is there something happening with this, like, this line of food? Is the food prep going wrong? Are we, like, not training our food staff correctly?
Yeah.
And it was actually initially concluded that it was just poorly trained waiters. They were mishandling food during prep.
Wow.
But you and I both know if I'm talking about this, it's not poorly trained waiters.
No, and I mean, like, for 150 people to get sick, I mean, I'm not even, like, 750. Yeah.
Yes, 750 people.
That's just, I don't know. I don't know about that. Seems
Yeah,
sus.
it's mighty sus, isn't it?
It sure is.
On February 28th, 1985, Congressman James H. Weaver gives a speech in the House of Representatives where he directly accused the Rajneeshis of infecting 8 restaurants in the Dales with salmonella.
How?
He was like, it's you guys, it's the cult.
Yeah.
Hands down.
I mean, yes, it is, but how?
And this accusation was immediately laughed at by people going like, excuse me, you don't have evidence. You have no evidence for this. You can't just accuse a cult you don't like of poisoning restaurants in the Dalles. But you and I both know he might be onto something, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's violent warfare.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit here. It was revealed later, after it all came to a head. So this happened after everything went down. It was revealed later that up to 12 members of the Rajneeshi commune were involved in the plot to poison the Dalles.
Jeez.
And at least 8 of them actively helped spread the bacteria.
Wow.
So Sheila and the nurse practitioner at Rajneeshpuram had purchased salmonella bacteria from Seattle, Washington, and had cultured it in labs within the commune. They had secret labs in the commune where they created this particular branch of salmonella.
That is insane.
They then poisoned 10 restaurant salad bars as a trial run.
Okay.
So the goal of this was to destroy the opposition voting population in the Dalles so that the cult could get their votes in.
They said, well, if we can't register new people to vote, we'll just get rid of the numbers on the other side.
Yes, that is exactly what they did. We were like, we will debilitate and destroy the people of this town so that we can write in candidates in a flawless victory.
That is literally overkill if I've ever heard it. Like, that's just insane.
Oh, wait, it gets worse. So, the poisoned 10 restaurants were the trial run. They had actually planned on poisoning the town's entire water supply.
Oh, okay.
They figured out that beavers are actually highly poisonous to town water supplies. They're a highly bacterial animal. So they decided that they were going to shove beavers into the wells and all of the water supplies.
They're just gonna... Where do you get beavers?
Well, yeah, they abandoned that plan when they found it was super improbable. But
yeah, I'm like, where do you just get beavers?
I think they actually I think they sent people up to Canada, grab some beavers.
Wow. Okay.
They actually did manage to get the beavers, but then they looked at the entry to the water supply and they were like, it's not gonna fit. The beavers are just not. This is not beaver sized. So they abandoned the plan.
Wow. I hope the beavers were okay.
I don't know. Something for the recap, I guess.
We have no unknown fate of the beavers currently.
Unknown beavers, we don't know.
We don't know.
So it's actually suspected that the first 2 test subjects were 2 county commissioners who were visiting Rajneeshpuram and writing all the citations. They were both given glasses of water during their visit, and they were shortly hospitalized after. And the glasses of water proved to be infected.
Wow.
They had also planted the salmonella on door handles in the county courthouse, and this didn't prove successful at all. People washed their hands.
Yeah. That's good.
So they went with salad bars. They were like, you know what? Everyone goes to salad bars in the Dalles in Oregon. Let's just poison the salad bars. So they created their own salsa. Yeah, it was a light brown liquid, and they either sprayed it over the salad, they were open salad bars, so they sprayed it over the produce, or they poured it into the salad dressing.
Wow. That's actually really disgusting.
Yeah, that's why I said don't eat during this episode. Now you know. Here's the kicker. This is the largest bioterror attack in the U.S. history.
Wow.
It still is. This is the largest bioterror attack in the U.S. in U.S. history to this day.
That's insane.
The incident is referred to as the 1984 bioterror attack, with 750 poisoning victims and no fatalities.
Wow. Well, I'm glad that they failed.
Yeah. And here's another, kind of twist of irony. This doubly backfired because the locals immediately suspected that the Rajneeshis were probably the ones that poisoned 750 people.
Yeah.
So they turned up in larger numbers to the polls for that particular vote. It was a 93% voter turnout.
That's incredible. I don't think, has there been a better turnout for voting, ever?
I don't know. I'm like, but it's also 93% turned out. You couldn't get the full 100. They poisoned the salad bars.
Yeah, that's one guy that's kind of worse things. We didn't die.
Yeah, it's was that it? So only 239 members of the commune showed up to vote, since the majority couldn't vote because they were international.
Fair.
The rest of the election went off without incident, and no Rajneeshis were elected into office.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. So, back at the ranch. Before all of the poisoning stuff comes out, during the time that the election is failing catastrophically, a new group of followers introduced themselves to the commune. They're a group from Hollywood, and their whole purpose was to raise money for the Bhagwan Rajneesh.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a group of just popular Hollywood socialites. And they bought him nice cars, diamond watches, and they just kind of threw around a casual few $1,000 at him. That's they're here, have it, buy anything you want on us.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
Why?
So naturally, Rajneesh is I like these guys. They're buying me Rolls Royces. They're buying me nice watches. They're buying me all of this nice stuff. Suddenly, this group has a lot of influence in Rajneeshpuram.
Yeah.
Suddenly, this group is having private meetings with Rajneesh.
Oh.
Without Sheila.
Yeah, I was going to say, so how does Sheila feel about this? I feel like she's not going to
Yeah, Sheila did not like this. She was like, now hang on a hot fucking minute. I am the secretary. I'm the spokesperson, and you're having meetings without me? Without my counsel?
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the wake of the failure of the Share a Home project and the uncertainty of this town-wide poisoning that's currently being investigated, Sheila's on really rocky ground as well, and people know that her position as the secretary is real fucking precarious. They're like,
yeah,
Sheila really fucked up twice there. What's gonna happen?
Oh gosh.
So then, Rajneesh begins to talk to Sheila about the end of the world.
Oh, that's where it always ends up, right?
That's right, BB. We're a doomsday cult now.
All right.
Yeah. So at this point, we become a doomsday cult. Rajneeshi teachings now include emphasis that the world will be destroyed in the 1990s by a nuclear war or other disasters. It can vary, but it's definitely being destroyed in 1990. There's actually reference that some of these teachings do go back as far as 1964, but it was more humanity is flawed and the new human will take over, and now it was hey, war is on the way and we have to be the new humanity.
Oh jeez, impending doom.
The third and last war is now on the way, he said, and the new humanity will be required to avoid global suicide. Not to worry though, Rajneeshi is totally fine. We're immune by their faith. Okay. Yeah.
Good.
And just in case the faith wasn't enough, they were building doomsday bunkers right underneath Rajneeshpuram.
Wow. So
yeah,
I love that theory though of just you are safe, there's nothing to worry about, but just in case.
Yeah, just in case. We're building bunkers. Everyone's gonna be fine.
Wow.
Yeah, so they built these bunkers right underneath Rajneeshpuram, and they 100% would survive, and they would survive to spread their new humanity after everyone and everything had been destroyed.
Wow.
There was also talks around this time that 2/3 of humanity was going to die from AIDS, and that condoms and rubber gloves would be required to have intercourse.
Okay. Rubber gloves.
Rubber gloves, very important. Kissing and all other physical contact should be restricted. Now, keep in mind, this is the 80s, and AIDS was considered an exclusively gay disease. Mm-hmm. So, when word got out that Bhagwan Rajneesh was talking about this sort of stuff, it was considered a wild overreaction.
Yeah.
They were like, this is no point to this. Oh, only gay men can get this. And it was like, oh, well.
Mm-hmm. Maybe he was trying to tell us something.
Maybe he was trying. Maybe he knew. Maybe he knew. So, at this time, Sheila's being cut out. Rajneesh is meeting with the Hollywood crowd. Sheila's not happy. So she comes out and she's like, guys, I have sad news. Rajneesh is addicted to prescription medication.
Oh, okay. Our god is addicted to prescription medication.
Our god man, our beautiful leader, our Jesus incarnate, he's addicted to prescription medication. Sheila claimed that Rajneesh had requested his doctor give him Valium and nitrous oxide, which is also called laughing gas. And Sheila blamed the new Hollywood crowd for being a bad influence on their leader.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Did people buy this?
So Sheila announced this publicly, and she said that she only came publicly because she talked to Rajneesh about this addiction and how terrible it was, and you're gonna let your following down. And Rajneesh blatantly told her to stay out of his business and cut her out of further meetings. So that's when
this is her, last attempt of,
But also, I don't think she was wrong. I actually think that she might have been onto something. I think he might have been addicted to something. He did have very unusual relationship with his doctor and his doctor's wife. His doctor was, I can't remember the doctor's name off the top of my head, but I think it was like Dr. Meredith. He was married to a member of the Hollywood crowd.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, and of course, Rajneesh had a lot of illnesses. He was an unwell man, and Valium and laughing gas, they alleviate pain.
Yes, they do.
So, would I be surprised if it came out that he was in fact addicted to these? It's not like it's like cocaine and heroin. He's not like doing party drugs. He's on pain relievers. So
yeah, but those are very addicting.
They are. And so, of course, when Rajneesh was asked about this later, when he broke his silence, he vehemently denied all accusations. And he was like, she was just jealous.
I'm sure.
So, there's a we're not sure. It was never, officially revealed, but I think there might have been something going on there.
Interesting.
So, now with this poisoning case, and this Share Home thing, and all of these Hollywood people constantly partying it up in Rajneeshpuram, there's a lot of spotlight on Rajneeshpuram.
Yeah, and sure is.
On Rajneesh specifically, they're like, who's this mysterious leader who only comes by in a Rolls Royce every day?
Yeah.
So his immigration status gets called into question.
Oh, I guess I never even questioned, like you said, how he was able to stay here this entire time without being a citizen.
Yeah, remember, he's on a U.S. tourist visa for medical treatment in New Jersey.
Yeah, and he's just, chilling this entire time, under the radar.
And this visa was acquired in 1981, and we're in 1984 now. So, that's 3 years. And just are are you getting medical treatment in New Jersey? We don't think so. So he was like, no worries. And he applied for a religious teacher visa.
Okay.
Because now he's a religious leader. He's officially a religious leader now of this doomsday cult. He's denied. He's denied on the grounds that because he's on this vow of silence, he doesn't speak in public, only to his lieutenants. Therefore, for the past 3 years, he's not been actively fulfilling his role as a religious leader. So even if he is technically a religious leader, he's not doing his job as a religious leader.
They're like, yeah, I mean, you can say you're a teacher all you want, but you ain't teaching.
Yeah, you're actively not teaching, and you haven't been for the past 3 years. My guy.
That's totally fair. I like that technicality.
Yeah. Well, the cult sues. They're like, you can't discriminate against a religious silence. You cannot. Especially since the teachings are being circulated in print through his disciples.
Oh my god. A big eye roll. Hopefully you guys can hear that through this.
But they win. They win the lawsuit.
No.
Yeah, and he was approved as a religious leader, but his permanent resident status as a religious leader remained pending. They refused to push it through the system.
Okay, that was their way of kind of just they'll hold it up forever.
Yeah, so while this religious leader visa is pending, the U.S. Attorney Office of Oregon is like, there's a lot of shifty business happening over here. So the U.S. Attorney Charles Turner, along with his entire office, discovers something really bizarre. Because now they're looking into his religious teachings. If he's a religious leader, what is he teaching? One of Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh's big philosophies is against the institution of marriage. Rajneeshism is all about free love and elevated being, and marriage is a construct that hinders one from becoming their awakened self. But they notice something very strange. They discover that a pair of Rajneeshis would leave Rajneeshpuram and begin to live ordinary lives together. One would be an American, and one would be international. They move to Dallas. They get an apartment, they get some jobs, they'd make friends, live plain-cut, homegrown American nuclear lives. They'd get married. Then they'd go to the immigration office in Dallas, present their marriage license and their record of living in Dallas, and they're like, "How we've been here, we're married. Can you get my spouse a green card?"
Yeah.
And it would be granted. And then as soon as the green card was granted, they'd immediately leave Dallas and return to Rajneeshpuram. And they would live the lives as they did before they moved to Dallas, with other partners, with other people. And they found out that another couple did this in California. And another couple did this in Utah. And another in Michigan. Actually, the number was somewhere between 300 and 500 suspect marriages took place through the last 3 years of Rajneeshpuram.
Holy shit.
So between those 300 and 500 to 500 suspect marriages, it's believed that 95% of them were fraudulent.
Wow.
This is the largest immigration marriage fraud in the history of the United States, ma'am. So not only have they committed the largest bioterror attack in the U.S., they've got immigration fraud too.
Jesus, they're
two
just
for
taking
two,
the whole
baby.
cake. Wow. Holy shit.
Yeah, so this comes to light. They have committed a massive marriage fraud in the United States because it was that easy.
Yeah, they were just like, "Look, we've been married, we're good. Look how happy we are. Give us the green card." And they're like, "Yeah, absolutely. Here you go. Have a great life."
And then they would go back to Rajneeshpuram. They're like, "All right, did it. Next set, go."
Jesus, it's so sad when people take advantage of these systems, right? Because it's like, now I know this is a really hard thing for people to do if they do want to marry someone that like comes from another country and stuff. And so it's like there's all these checks and balances and proof you got to do, and it really can like hold people's lives up and stuff as they're going through this to like just try to live a normal life. And it's because of bastards like this.
But I remember when I was applying to be an American citizen, when I was going through all of my testing and documentation, there were couples there who were trying to prove that they'd been married for like decades. And they had they would bring in like wagons of photo albums and photo albums. And it's like, we were here on this date. They use this toothpaste. Here's this. Here's us doing this. Here's us doing this. Here's 20 years of like cataloged thing. And they would still get turned away because they were too suspect.
Yeah.
And it's wild. And and this is so discreet. This was so subtle. 300 to 500 marriages over the course of 3 years.
Yeah.
That's like, if you think about it, that's really spaced out. This flew under the radar. It's not like they were sending droves and droves and droves. But this got, 300 people green cards?
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah. And then once you've got a green card, you're set for life. You don't, you're not an American citizen, you can't vote, but you can stay. You're allowed to stay in America. They can't do anything against a green card holder.
That's not good.
Yeah. So there you go. We've got largest bioterror attack, largest immigration fraud.
Wow. 2 for 2.
So, Sheila's feeling the heat. Anger and jealousy towards how things are playing out are manifesting in some pretty vicious ways. So Sheila calls in her little lieutenants, her posse, at her lovely leader house. And she starts putting together a list of enemies of the commune.
That's a good idea. Let's just make a list of everyone we don't like.
Yep, let's make a large list of everyone we don't like. And at the top of the list was U.S. Attorney Charles Turner, who led the investigation into the fake marriages.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I don't like that they're targeting specific people now.
Yeah, they're targeting specific people. There is now a hit list.
Jesus.
So what does one do with enemies of the commune? It looks a bit like assassination.
All right, so we are escalating. We're doing biowarfare, we're gonna marriage fraud, and now we're just going straight to assassination attempts.
There are now assassination plots at play.
Wow, okay.
So, Sheila assembles a team of Rajneeshis and creates a whole plan to arm them and commit an assassination plot. A group of Rajneeshis started watching Turner's office, his home, and his car. And they actually picked a day that the plot was supposed to be carried out.
Oh my god, please tell me they failed.
The only reason that they failed is because Turner never appeared in the targeted spot that entire day. So they left.
Wow. Did he get tipped off on this?
Turner suspected that it was going to happen, and you'll see now things happen really, really quick at this point. So he thought something was weird was happening, And then they were like, hey, we actually think that the Rajneeshis were trying to kill you. And he's like, oh, good. Great.
I'm glad I'm not crazy.
Yeah. 7 Rajneeshis were actually convicted later of conspiracy to assassinate, and Turner thankfully got out with his life. He was not assassinated. He lived a long, healthy life. But talk about a close fucking call.
That's insane, actually, how close it got to, like, what were they planning on doing?
They were going to shoot him.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, it was very simple. They had pistols. They were Rajneeshis in plain clothes, so they had a plot where, like, they actually, like, went to, like, an actual department store, bought plain clothes with jackets that were large enough to hide pistols in, and then they had assassins posted at different places being like, okay, he's going to appear here, he's going to come from this building, his car is parked here, you're going to wait here, and as soon as you see him, walk up to him and shoot him point blank.
Man, that's insane.
Yeah.
So they're allowed to dress in plain clothes for their assassin. Their god looks a blind eye on that. As long as you're assassinating someone, you can change it to other clothes.
You're doing the commune so much good. That's the only time that you can wear plain clothes is if you are attempting to murder someone.
That's fair. A tit for tat. You know what they say.
There you go. There's your life lesson. If you're trying to kill someone, you can wear whatever you want.
I
don't know if that's the lesson you want to take away from this, but there you go.
God, that's crazy to me.
So, of course, Turner's not the only one on the list. There's a whole hit list. So there are journalists on this list. There are local government officials. Pretty much anyone who was vocal about hatred towards the cult had a plot against their life.
Oh God, we're going to be on this list, lady.
We are. Well, no. Well, because now, we'll get there. Don't get ahead of me. That's my surprise at the end. We're on the list.
I'm sorry.
So, one of the plots was an arson committed at the county planning office.
Wow.
A couple of Rajneeshis unloaded filing cabinets of paper and, pretty much like city ordinances, like land use forms. They scattered them everywhere, all over the floor, covered the whole thing in lighter fluid, and lit a match.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, luckily,
massive
because it was all paper, it failed because it just burned up quickly enough?
The building actually caught fire, but nobody was hurt.
Wow.
So I think they destroyed... There was a lot of property damage for that arson. I want to say 60% of documents were destroyed.
Wow.
But nobody was hurt. This happened at night. There was nobody in the building. So... And the fire was put out pretty quickly when it spread to, like, the actual, like, infrastructure. So the building, like, was fine. But they did lose a lot of documents.
So this was an assassination attempt, but they did it at nighttime when no one was there?
I think they were trying to destroy records of land use. So they were trying to destroy the fact that land use for their particular city was agricultural. So I think that was part of the plot. But I also think that they had it out for the city planner. And they were kind of hoping he was in the building, but he wasn't, like, high on the list.
Gotcha.
On top of this arson, there were also orders to bomb the courthouse.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, they were going to strap a bomb to one of their private planes, and they were going to drop it on the city courthouse that had denied all of the share a home registrations.
Seems like a fair response.
Yeah, that failed, though, because the pilots refused. They're like, you can't strap a bomb to this. This is a Learjet. We're not equipped for that.
That's funny. They're like, we're not suicide bombers. Like, we're not doing that.
Yeah, like, we're not flying into this building. You can't, like, just tape a bomb to this. Like, we can't control it to this magnitude.
I like that was, like, the thought, though. It was like, yeah, we'll just put a bomb on that. You just drop the bomb from the airplane. You can't just, like, stick your arm out of the airplane and just drop the bomb.
They're like, that's not how that works, I'm afraid.
I feel like that was their thinking, though. It was like, you just drop it.
Yeah, I have a feeling it was just like crank down the window and like throw it out the window. Like it'll land. Like they're not. I don't know. I think they had the bombs too. They just never left the ground.
Man, the way that they make plans is weird. That they obtain these things first and then they look up the logistics later. They're like, okay, we have the bombs, we have the beavers. Oh, but shoot, the plan won't work. Like,
look, these people are doers. They're not thinkers.
I kind of I have respect for it. They will get the job done, but just not well.
Yes. Oh, man. So, yeah. And needless to say, things were escalating quite rapidly. But since these plans actually never quite manifested the results that they wanted, the conflict began to shift from outward view to attacking enemies of the commune to inward and problems happening within the commune.
Ah. Okay.
So, Sheila is actively targeting journalists, politicians, city planners, everything. She's frazzled, she's paranoid, and she's out of favor with Rajneesh. She's being kept out of meetings. The California group is much closer to the bug one than she is. She is losing her grip on power, on rationality. So when someone is paranoid and nervous and feels like they're being left out, what does one do?
They make bad decisions.
They make bad decisions and wiretap the entire commune.
That's not what I was expecting her to do. Wow. All right.
Yep. She wiretaps the entirety of Rajneeshpuram, including the Bhagwan's personal room.
That's gonna get her in trouble.
Yep. If she can't be in meetings, she's gonna be at least privy to the information so she can protect him.
Oh my god. This is not gonna end well. I just feel it now.
She also rallies in her husband, our lovely boy John Shelfer, and the mayor of Rajneeshpuram, because it's a city and it has a mayor.
I never even considered that.
Yeah, he's an interesting character. We'll talk about him a bit later, but the mayor is now involved. He's helping Sheila. He's on Sheila's side.
He's on Sheila's side.
So, with the help of her husband and the mayor of Rajneeshpuram, she begins to tape all of these conversations that are happening behind closed doors, and she's sharing them with her husband, the mayor, and her lieutenants.
Jeez.
Yeah. So one of these particular tapes that's called into question a lot, and it was a conversation that I'm not sure if this was between Rajneesh and Sheila or if this was between Rajneesh and his doctor. I think it's technically two tapes because it's referred to as both in a lot of records, and I don't think they were both there.
Okay.
But I think it was the doctor primarily, and then an additional tape with Sheila later kind of solidified this.
Gotcha.
So,
okay.
On this particular tape, Rajneesh asked if death could be induced in a painless and dignified way.
Oh, that's a bold question, Cotton.
Yeah. He begins to ask about types of medications, and if a crematorium could be built in Rajneeshpuram.
I don't like where this is going.
In a tape later with Sheila, I think this is the second tape, he tells her that he is going to die on Master's Day, 6th of July that year. So to me, this sounds like he wants to commit suicide. This is what that sounds like to me.
Yeah.
Sheila listens to this tape and she's like, he's being murdered.
Oh, okay.
The doctor and his personal caretaker are planning on assassinating Bhagwan Shri Rajneesh.
I think that's the little paranoia kicking in right there.
I think so. But because she's the one writing the hit list, she adds Rajneesh's caretaker, Mayoga Vivek, and his personal physician, Swami Devaraj, to her hit list.
That's gonna end well for sure.
Yeah. Sheila was convinced that the two were conspiring to kill the guru. He was doped up on Valium and laughing gas, and they were planning this idea, like, maybe you should just have a graceful death. Maybe you should, we'll kill you on a religious day, and it'll be this beautiful ceremony, and then your spirit will transcend.
Yeah.
The doctor and the caretaker later argued in court that Rajneesh was just requesting drugs in case he decided to end his own life, and ensured that the death would be peaceful.
All right.
But, if you're on the hit list, you've got an assassination plot against you. So let's commence the assassination plot against the physician and the caretaker, shall we?
Jeez. So does the leader, does he not understand that there's this hit list out?
No. It's not known. It's not known how much he knew that was happening.
Okay.
Do I think that he knew that his caretaker and his doctor were on the hit list? No. Do I think he knew that assassination plots were being held against lawyers and businessmen and city planners? My guess is he might have known. He might have done.
Sheila at this point isn't really in charge, but he's also not stopping her from doing these things.
Yeah, it's like a weird complacency. It's like she can do whatever she wants, but she's not in favor. But he can say something. He's still in silence publicly, but he's calling Sheila into meetings once a week.
Interesting.
So it's such a strange thing, and even to this day, we don't know how much he knew.
Yeah.
And it's like, if he knew, then that's one thing. But if he didn't know, was he just an ignorant fool getting high on Valium and spending money on nice cars?
I mean, towards the end there, who knows? Like you said, it could go either way.
Yeah, but
It's a he said, she said situation.
it really is. But at any rate, Sheila's like, doctor, caretaker, gotta go. We're gonna commit assassination plot against them. So what she does, she fills syringes full of adrenaline, gives them to one of her lieutenants, and then during one of Rajneesh's meetings, during one of the big lectures, during one of these big group talks, the lieutenant comes up behind the doctor and stabs him in the butt with a syringe full of adrenaline.
In the butt?
In the butt.
Right,
I believe it was the left butt cheek.
Man, that's the best place to do it.
Yep. If this was the doctor, he immediately became groggy and walked off, but he survived.
Wait, so she fills him full of adrenaline, and that's like, it just like depletes your body, I'm guessing, because it just doesn't...
Maybe the doctor had some sort of medical illness, or Sheila didn't know what the effects of adrenaline were going to do. I think it's kind of like the Haldol earlier, where it's like, we have this powerful drug, and we're not sure what it's going to do, but let's fill people with it, and let's see what happens.
All right.
Yeah, but it was confirmed to be adrenaline, and it was non-lethal, so he survived.
Good, but God, I can only imagine what he went through.
Yeah, and of course, this doctor has the ear of Rajneesh, so as soon as he figures out what happened, he's going to tell on her. He's going to tell on Sheila.
Yeah.
So Sheila decides... it became very clear to Sheila that the commune was no longer where she needed to be, and the commune no longer wanted her.
Wow, okay.
So, September 13th, 1985, Sheila and a few of her lieutenants left Rajneeshpuram and fled to Europe.
Wow, so she really said, you can't fire me, I quit, and she left.
Pretty much. But of course, a lot of this political struggle that's happening with Sheila, most of the followers were not aware of what was happening. They just knew that Sheila was putting plans in motion, and they knew that Rajneesh was meeting with doctors. And then one day, Sheila just gets on a private plane, and she's just gone. She's gone.
Okay.
And it was this weird void space of just like, what do you mean she's gone? That's the secretary. That's the administrator. She's the one giving talks. Where did she go? Is she coming back?
Yeah.
And Rajneesh was not happy that Sheila just got up and left without consulting him.
Gotta ask for permission.
You gotta ask for permission. So, if that wasn't earth-shattering enough to the commune, another huge surprise immediately came after. After 3.5 years of public silence, Rajneesh spoke publicly for the first time.
Wow.
Few days after Sheila left, he came out in front of his entire commune, and he was like, guys, Sheila is a criminal. She's committed arson. She's committed wiretapping. She's committed mass poisonings, embezzlement, and even attempted murder.
What? So he's just throwing all of this on her.
He threw her under the bus so hard. She disappeared. Wow. She had a quote-unquote graceful exit. Mm-hmm. And I think this was enough for him to break his silence. So, that's got some
You gotta think, was that the plan from the whole beginning? Was her to basically be the scapegoat? That's why he went into silence? That's why he could claim ignorance? You know what I mean? She was the face, she was the puppet. He's pulling the strings. And that was, the hope for him was eventually if things went sideways, he'd have this, scapegoat. But then she left, and so now he's like, well, I gotta make it known that it was all her.
I do not know. I think when they were really working together, the cult was, they could accomplish anything. They were doing the damn thing. They successfully operated for 3.5 years. They ruffled a lot of feathers, but until the poisoning and the share a home thing, they were holding their ground. They built a community.
Yeah.
And I think part of it is Sheila knew a lot of secrets. Sheila knew inner workings. She knew secrets. She knew plans, future forwarding. She knew all of the crimes. And I think rather than wait for Sheila to get caught and confess, I think he was like, I'm screwed. If they catch her, if she says anything, I'm in trouble. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it first. I'm going to cut her off first. And then he basically threw her under the bus. I think that's more what happened. But I don't know.
Okay.
We don't.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I do not know. Speculative of
it's really
the reason.
Good. Yeah, and people are still speculating to this day. It's not known, Were they working together? Was this part of the plan? Was she always supposed to be a scapegoat? Was she just like oh shit, she fucking abandoned me?
Yeah.
Or
and it was that
was
last minute response.
Yeah, or was it that, he was doped up on Valium and things, didn't know what was going on, and then suddenly became privy when he heard that his secretary had gone missing?
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
But he gave this very public speech, basically threw her completely under the bus.
Wow.
He called her brutal. He accused her of taking advantage of his silence and speaking for him. And he also announced that he would no longer let his followers live under a fascist regime.
Okay.
Yeah. Now Sheila, in Europe somewhere, hears that the Bhagwan has broken his silence, and not only has he broken his silence, he's fucking throwing her under the bus.
Yeah.
So she starts doing interviews in Europe with a bunch of journalists being like, no, it was not me. It was the Bhagwan. He's the one who told me to do this. He's the one who told me that killing was okay. He's the one that told me that we should bring in this houseless community. He's the one that said we should poison the water hole. It's like... And it was this massive back and forth where one of them would do this public speak. A couple of days would go by. The other one would respond in an interview somewhere else. And then it was just this constant back and forth. Sheila also stated in some of her interviews that all of Rajneesh's teachings were nothing but a con. And from the beginning, from their time in Ashram Pune, it was nothing more than to attract wealthy Westerners and give them get their money.
Wow. So she's just like, yeah, I mean, you want to know the real truth? Let me tell you the real truth. We're talking truth? This whole thing's a sham.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Now, of course, the following, the cult, are like, who do we fucking believe? What is happening? So, heavily divided. Which leader do we follow? Who do we... what? Most of them didn't even know half of this was going on. They're like, we're trying to poison someone? What do you mean we committed arson? Like, what?
Jeez, I just thought we were here to, give people houses and stuff.
Yeah, like, when we were doing good work, we were just here to have, free love, do group therapy, and have sex on the beach. That's all we wanted to do.
Yeah,
and now suddenly
the orgies.
Yeah, what think of the orgies? And no, apparently no, there's a lot of crime going on. And, so the Rajneeshpuram pretty much solidly rallied around Bhagwan. But the international following had no idea what was going on. They're like, wait, this is happening? Jeez. And of course, Sheila's got all of her lieutenants with her, so they're rallying behind her. She's got these 25 people who were like, we will die for you, Sheila, because the Bhagwan treated us this way.
Yeah.
It's also at this time that Sheila and her second husband got a divorce.
Oh.
Yeah. Guess the criminal charges and the fracture in the commune proved a little bit too much for the relationship, but they separated. I think the day that she left was the last day she ever saw her second husband. I think they divorced separately because she was on the run in Europe, he was in the commune, so they split up. Sheila even admitted in one of these interviews that she feared for her life, but not from prosecution, from the commune and them coming after her if Bhagwan told them to.
That's fair. I mean, she's seen what they're capable of.
Yeah. So, after Sheila's departure, now there's a void in the secretary position, of course, because Sheila can't be the secretary if she's fucking fleeing and shouting with the Bhagwan. Yeah. So a new secretary was named, Ma Prem Hasya, or Francois Ruddy, as she was known before.
Okay.
She was married to Rajneesh's personal doctor. I think we talked about that earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And she was part of, if not the leader of, the Hollywood crowd. So she's had his ear for a very long time. She was also previously married to Albert S. Ruddy, the producer of The Godfather. So she had influence and she had money.
Yeah.
She was pretty much the perfect candidate to diffuse the press and do damage control after Sheila's departure.
Wow, yeah, having someone, like you said, kind of not related to the situation come in and just being like, no, we're the good guys on this side, guys. You know me. Trust me.
We didn't know about all of this crime happening, and Sheila's crimes have come to light, and we are a peaceful commune. We don't poison people. We don't commit arson. We don't bomb courthouses. We don't do that. We're the nice red-robe-wearing people. So not only did Hasya come into power as the new secretary, but further reform included a new mayor.
Okay.
Because he had been working with Sheila to wiretap the entire Rajneesh community.
Did he go with Sheila, or is he also still there and he just got kicked out.
No, he just fucking ran.
Oh.
He was just yeah. As soon as Sheila left, he was like, shit, and he just fucking left.
Fair.
Yeah, I was like, he wasn't close enough to Sheila to be on the private jet, but he was also like, ooh, I was close enough to Sheila to get in a lot of trouble for this.
Gotcha. That's fair. That's fair. Probably smart of him to run.
So they switch out the mayor. They also they controlled this town of Rajneesh, which was previously Antelope. They have commissioners who are running this town. Mm-hmm. So pretty much an entire new set of Rajneeshi commissioners were put in charge of the city of Rajneesh. They were like, Sheila appointed those ones, so we don't know if we can trust you. So we're going to just put our own ones there who are probably members of the Hollywood crowd.
Gosh. There's like a subcult like within the cult. Like it's just like there's like this inner circle.
Yeah. It's funny that you chose those words. I'm going to hold on to those words that you have specifically chosen.
The subcult.
Put those further in your pocket. Remember the words inner circle.
Okay.
All right. So, now that all of the government positions in this cult have been rotated.
Yeah.
There's only one thing left to do. A book burning.
Yeah, get rid of all the bad literature.
Yeah. There was a book burning specifically for the book called Rajneeshism, which was the introductory guide to the religion.
Oh.
So the book was burned after Bhagwan declared that it had actually been written by Sheila, because it was written in the height of Sheila's power.
Oh my gosh.
And that all of the teachings in that book were like, they went against everything that we stood for as Rajneeshis, as these sannyasis, these members of this cult.
Wow.
So, yeah, again, he came forward and he was like, look, all of my teachings say that our way of life is a religionless religion, and Rajneeshism, that's a religion, so we can't be doing that.
I don't know if I buy that. I just feel like he's doing weird damage control.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
So he also decreed at this time that people were no longer forced to wear the red robes. You didn't have to do that anymore.
You don't have to, but you can if you want to, right?
Yeah, you can if you want to, but you don't have to. And the malas that everyone's wearing with that picture of him around his neck didn't have to do that either. It's all optional. It's all optional.
These are big changes.
These are huge changes. So in total they burned 5,000 books of Rajneeshism.
Wow.
And on top of the 5,000 books that were burned, Sheila's secretary robes that were left behind were also burned.
Wow.
This pretty much marked the spiritual death of Sheila's influence and standing, and officially announced that Sheila had been excommunicated from Rajneeshpuram.
Wow.
She was cut out. And yeah, the day she left, September 13th, 1985, that was the last day she ever saw Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. She never crossed paths with him again.
Wow, okay. I wonder if she would know that would be the last time.
I don't know. I don't think she ever wanted it to be, but I think she understood that it had to be.
That's understandable. I think if they would have crossed paths again, it would have been bloody.
It would have been real bad, because they said a lot of nasty words to each other.
Yeah.
So, with all this change, and very public accusations on both sides, this aired a lot of dirty laundry into the public press. So, of course, because they're doing these very public interviews, these very public speeches, basically disowning each other. And the FBI is like, looks like probable cause to me.
Yeah, keep talking. And we're just, like, revealing crimes, like, on camera to each other. Like, no, they did the arson. And they're like, wait, there was an arson? Like,
pretty much. The FBI was looking at these interviews going, so arson and assassination plots, you said? And poisoning? You think poisoning? Okay, let me try this down real quick.
Like, notes.
This is something to look into.
Yeah.
So they finally had a reason to come into the commune and investigate properly. Wow. And investigate previously very secretive felonies.
That's crazy.
With the FBI coming in, there was the discovery of the doomsday bunkers. Specifically a doomsday bunker hidden underneath Sheila's previous home. It was hidden behind several secret doors. And even inside the bunker, there were further secret doors.
What the hell?
It was like, you pull a lever, open door, go into hallway. Inside hallway, there's a second hidden lever. You pull it, 2 doorways open. You go through this one, another hidden lever. Go back out, go through this other doorway. Down some stairs, now you're in the bunker. Quick, hit this other switch, bookcase opens. It was like, there were like levels and levels and levels of secret doors just to make sure that nobody found this.
Wow. So, okay, keep talking. I need to know.
Yeah. This was like, it was basically to keep people, even people in the commune, like, didn't know about
Yeah,
this.
that's why I'm just like, so who knew about the secret bunker? Was this just Sheila?
I think it was Sheila and her lieutenants, but I don't know if Bhagwan knew about it.
Yeah,
I don't know. So, within the secret room and a secret room and a secret room and a secret room, they found a secret laboratory.
More secrets.
Basically a chemist lab where salmonella was being cultured.
Wow.
As well as spy equipment. The scale of surveillance that Sheila had on the commune when she was at the height of power was astounding. Over 10,000 tapes were found of various recordings, pictures, goings-on, audio recordings, visual recordings, rooms that they were cataloged for, where these devices were. It was astounding.
Jesus. So we have Sheila to thank for the
pretty much for the massive amount of surveillance. Yeah, she wasn't the only one. They also had like public people, like members of like their own like news group of the commune that were just filming and doing like local news like TV for Rajneeshpuram.
Interesting.
So there's
like
a lot of footage
shit?
for that. Kinda, yeah. Like it's like, look, we're gonna do this festival, and here's our summer party, and here's this event, and they would have their own like news crews like filming everything, and they would also bring in like foreign ones, just be like, you get to come in for one day and have a look, and then you have to leave.
Wow, that's like North Korea.
It's ridiculously recorded and so secretive. It's very strange.
Yeah.
So, on top of these 10,000 tapes, they found numerous spy devices, and the spy devices were scattered all over the commune. And these included devices that could audio record, take photos, and some that were designed to cause harm. And they didn't specify what that meant, but I'm going to assume it was a crossbow.
What? They're just like, yeah, they have all the surveillance equipment and like then just like some stuff that could cause some massive harm.
Yeah, they said devices that were designed to cause harm was the specific wording. And I'm like, was it like a secret device that if you opened a drawer you weren't supposed to, like a vial of gas was going to explode and like poison you?
A poison dart shoots out?
Well, yeah, was it darts? Was it like mercury poured on your head? Like, was it the vats of boiling oil that was like hidden in the ceiling? I don't know.
Yeah.
But they said devices that were designed to cause harm. So
that's interesting.
It was described that there was so much content on these tapes that a person working a full 8-hour day every day would take 2 years to listen to every single tape.
Jesus. I was wondering, like, if she is really wiretapping all of these rooms and trying to keep up with that. I mean, like, who has the manpower? Like, I understand she had, like, the 12, disciples or whatever, but that's still, I don't understand. It's to just record takes time, and then to actually go back and listen to the recordings take time. I mean, as an editor, you understand that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Like, and I think she had her priorities. So, of course, like, Rajneesh's room was Sheila's priority. She would listen to tapes exclusively for there. But then she probably gave other assignments to her lieutenants, being like, you listen to the auditorium, you listen to the nurse's office, you listen to this, you listen to this. Yeah. And she had the mayor and her husband involved as well, so it's like, she had a team. Yeah. And then maybe she was just like, just in case. These were the just in case tapes.
Yeah.
So.
Gosh, that's crazy.
So to top it all off, this is one of the largest cases of wiretapping in U.S. history.
Wow, 3 for 3.
That's a third record, BB.
Jesus, they were out to set records.
So let's take from the top. Bioterror attack. We've got marriage fraud, and we've got one of the largest cases of wiretapping in U.S. history. Wow. I don't know if they still hold the record, but
at the time,
yeah, at this time. This was the largest case, and they still hold the record for marriage fraud and for the poisoning. Jeez.
Okay. All right. Well, I wonder if we'll break any more records by the time we're done with this episode.
The night is young, BB. So, FBI finds all this stuff. Sheila's gone. Can't say anything. Rajneesh is now being very vocal with his disdain, so many followers come forward being like, hey, I saw, like, it's like, now that the whole this is coming to light, like, we'll talk about what we saw. Like, we saw this. Like, Sheila did this. Rajneesh did this. It was around this time that the FBI became aware of the salmonella poisonings, because right at that point, it was just, like, so strange that 750 people got sick right before an election.
And it's crazy that we just, and then they found the salmonella lab, like, in the hidden compartments. They're like, huh.
Yeah, and then it had the nurse practitioners being like, oh, yeah, I think I do remember Sheila told me to, like, cultivate some salmonella, but she didn't tell me what it was for. Like, I just thought it was like a fun, like, arts and craft project. Like, we used to make shoes and jewelry back in, like, the ashram.
Yeah, and she just wanted some salmonella that day.
Yeah, Arts and Crafts Center today is featured. You're going to make your own jewelry, you're going to make your own, like, moccasins, and then we're going to make salmonella.
That's the perfect trio.
You know? So, yeah, so now it was publicly confirmed that the commune had, in fact, poisoned the dolls. And that congressman who made that speech, everyone was like, you're crazy. He was like, ha! I told you so!
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. Of course, the arson came to light. Like, that was the commune. The attempted bombing came to light, and they were like, sorry, bombs don't strap to planes. Whoops. They also found weapon caches, massive military-grade weapon caches on the property, hidden in the lake, hidden in bushes, buried underground.
Gosh.
All of it. All of it came to light.
That's insane.
But, of course, FBI has questions, and the person who can answer them, Ma'anad Sheila, not on property anymore. She's hiding out in Europe. And they also were like, well, okay, if Sheila did all of this, if they're blaming Sheila, she did all of this, and so many people knew about it. You know, we had nurse practitioners knowing about the poison, we had the pilots knowing about the bombing, we had whoever committed the arson, they knew about the arson. So, did Rajneesh know as well?
Yeah.
So then it became a bit of a question. Was he simply a foolish man who had been duped by his secretary? Or was he more involved and shifting blame to a convenient scapegoat?
I think he's more involved.
You know? So, FBI got search warrants, and they raided Rajneeshpuram officially. They basically tore the entire commune apart. They had the Doomsday Bunker, they had all of Sheila's stuff, but everywhere else was closed to the FBI, because they didn't have probable cause to explore the Bhagwan's house, they didn't have to explore the doctor's office, they didn't have anything.
Yeah.
Now they had warrants, now they could do everything.
Ooh.
Yeah, so they basically were scrounging for evidence, witnesses, anything that could tie Rajneesh to the crimes, as well as Sheila. Because all they had a lot for Sheila, Bhagwan was very liberal with that.
Yeah.
But they needed to know, could they get Bhagwan? And suddenly the community was like, oh, I don't know anything.
Wow. When it was all on Sheila, they're like, oh yeah, crazy stuff.
Yeah, like we should be doing this, and we were doing this, and then I got involved with this, and I almost shot this guy. And then as soon as it was like, hey, did Rajneesh know? I don't know anything about that. What assassination plot? There was no arson. Yeah.
Wow.
It was spooky. And the FBI was very quick for like without witnesses, without people willing to testify, we've got nothing.
Oh, yeah.
But wait, there's somebody still out there who fled when Sheila left. The previous mayor of Rajneeshpuram. He's out there. So, the previous mayor was a man named Krishna Deva, or KD for short. Everyone referred to him as KD. And he made a deal with the federal government in exchange for immunity and information.
Let's go.
So, KD had obviously been one of Sheila's men, but not close to Sheila. He was kind of like the dog's body of Sheila's regime.
Gotcha, okay.
He pleaded guilty to sham marriage fraud because he did, in fact, commit a sham marriage. He married I think he was an American, so he married an international. And in exchange for pleading guilty and immunity to the rest of the crimes, he exchanged deeply coveted secrets from his time in power. Wow. We don't know what these are. We do not know what these are.
Oh, dang. I was excited to hear.
I wish, but a lot of this part is kind of under wraps, because it's a lot.
Yeah.
So, with Katie's secret confession, and with what they found with the search warrants, and the bunker, and the poisoning, and the arson, and the bombing, and the weapon caches, and everything, FBI decided that they had enough to arrest both Rajneesh and Sheila.
Oh, wow.
But both were precariously placed. So, Rajneesh was in Rajneeshpuram, within the commune that was loyal to a deadly fault surrounding him. And they knew that if they tried to arrest Rajneesh publicly,
it would be chaos.
His following, armed with semi-automatic rifles, might try and step in.
Yeah, that would not go well.
Sheila was somewhere in Europe, and they weren't sure where, but if she was in Europe, she was possibly in unextraditable land. So they needed to try and push her into extraditable land and nab her quickly so she couldn't flee to, like, Switzerland, where she would be immune.
Yeah, okay.
And they both needed to be nabbed quickly in quick succession to each other to not tip the other off.
That makes sense.
So it kind of became a bit of a synchronized dance.
Yeah, okay.
So they decide that they're going to start with Rajneesh. He's in the U.S. They know where he is. And we've got to, we'll get to Sheila soon. We'll get there. So the National Guard and SWAT teams were recruited as contingency plans in case things went south. Because pretty much they were terrified that they had another Jonestown on their hands. People were going to come for the leader. There was going to be a shootout. People were going to die.
Yeah, I can completely understand their, holding back on that.
Yeah. So tensions were high on both sides. The current mayor of the commune, who is actually also Rajneesh's lawyer, suggested that Rajneesh would agree to a peaceful surrender in Portland. And the U.S. government and the FBI were like, nah, we're not going to do that.
No peaceful surrender.
No peaceful surrender. We will not do that. Authorities later claimed that there had also been a plan that if Rajneesh was deliberately taken, there was a plan that the women and children of the cult would have been utilized into a human shield to protect their leader.
Wow.
So they were apparently training women and children inside this commune that basically, if they're coming for our leader, you've got to put your bodies, in front of them so that they can't get to him unless,
That is just horrible.
Does this not sound like Jonestown? This is basically, this is the setup to a massacre.
It is, yeah. They were so ready for it.
Oh, yeah. And it was going to become a reality. Even, speaking about it later, the authorities were like, oh, yeah, that was a very real fear, and it was quickly becoming a reality. We were looking at Jonestown 2,
Jesus.
basically. But while the authorities were busy mobilizing and getting into position, 2 Learjets quickly landed in Rajneeshpuram. 45 minutes later, after the Learjets landed, they immediately took off again.
Oh, no.
And then they got word. Rajneesh was no longer in Rajneeshpuram.
Yeah.
For the first time in 4 years, he had left the building, and he likes to do that. He's the same with the Pune ashram. Waits 4 years, leaves, disappears.
Yeah, it's the force the magic number. It just feels, today's the day.
Today's the day. We're just going to leave for no reason in particular. We're just going to get on this plane and we're going to leave. We're never going to come back.
Jeez.
So, now remember, these are 2 planes, 2 Learjets.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 planes had very different flight paths.
Okay.
But because they were tipped off immediately that this has happened, both planes were tracked immediately as they took off. So people were watching these planes like hawks, where are they going?
Yeah.
What's happening? It was very quickly figured out, as soon as the Learjets came into play, that Rajneesh was planning to run to Bermuda to avoid prosecution.
Oh my gosh. They'll never catch me in the triangle.
The triangle will keep me safe. It's unextraditable. They can't get past all the sea monsters and nuclear Atlanteans.
Exactly.
We're free. We're home free, baby.
Gosh. That is crazy, though, that he's just, so slickly just got on a plane and got out of there. And, now they're trying, but,
Yeah. And he didn't tell anyone. His inner circle knew.
Yep.
And that was it. The mayor didn't know. His caretakers didn't know. He just sort of disappeared. They were like, "I'll be right back in 5 minutes. We're just gonna go get you a blanket to keep you comfortable." They come back to the room. He was gone. And they heard the planes taking off. And basically, someone on the runway was like, "Where's he going?
Yeah.
What's happening?"
Wow.
They called the mayor. But where's he going? And he's like, who's going?
Yeah. Jesus. Okay. That's fun.
Yeah. So. One plane's path went to Colorado to refuel, and the other one went to Salt Lake City. Both planes would make one last stop in Charlotte, North Carolina, before hopping over to Bermuda.
Okay.
But they figured out that both planes were going to go to Charlotte, North Carolina, so they were ready.
Okay.
On the 28th of October, Rajneesh and a small entourage with him were arrested in North Carolina at Charlotte Douglas International Airport.
Good.
$58,000 in cash, 35 watches and bracelets valuing at $1 million were also found on board this plane.
Okay. Casually.
Casually. Rajneesh claimed that he had not been informed of the impending arrest.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't know that he was about to be arrested, or the reason that he was flying to Bermuda. Not a clue. He was like, I don't know, I was just going on vacation. I didn't know you guys were going to arrest me.
So this man he claims to be this, super enlightened and wise spiritual leader. He's literally God-man. But then at the same time, he is also just so in the dark about the happenings of what's going on in his own cult.
Yeah, no, for a cult leader, for an enlightened individual, someone who was enlightened at the age of 21 under a mysterious encounter under a tree, for someone who has, the power to command people who are armed with guns to run a city, to appoint politicians, who has this power, is oblivious.
Apparently.
And I don't know what's scarier, if he is oblivious and people are just making decisions and they're just like, yeah, because Rajneesh told me to, or if he's completely got the wherewithal, but there's no in between. He knows everything or he knows nothing.
There is, like you said, there is absolutely no in between. He either is this insanely genius puppet master that just knows everything and is totally playing all of us, or he really is just this guy that's just a figurehead. Like, that's all he is. There's no substance.
And to this day, we do not know. We don't know which one it is. We do not know if he was blissfully ignorant, if that was the state of enlightenment everyone was trying to retrieve, was blissful ignorance, or if it's insane shadow puppet master. We do not know. Wow. And I don't know which is scarier.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, this cult basically having a figurehead but being run by shadow people in the background. That's terrifying.
Yeah, and basically he being able to change the power so quickly. Sheila was in power for a long time, and then it went to the Hollywood crowd, and it's like, that's going to create rifts, which is really where the rift began, was just when, the power was transferred from one side to the other. Yeah. And if he was blissfully ignorant, if he was just like, yeah, I'll just put whoever I want in charge. Yeah. That's dangerous. And if he's just like, no, you're going to be my spokesperson, or you're going to be the damage control. Yeah, so there you go. But anyway, he was arrested. He was gracefully escorted out of his private jet. Gracefully. And he was held in Charlotte prison for 10 days. Okay. And he received medical care and tailored vegetarian meals before he was transferred back to Oregon. Wow. So he was cared for. Even the cult were like, man, thank you so much for taking care of our cult leader. We really appreciate it. Wow. I think they ended up sending flowers to the prison, being like, you're taking such a good care of our leader. Like, thank you so much for, treating him as a human.
That is... I wonder who got to receive those flowers. Whose desk did those flowers get to sit on, that day, where they're just like, huh.
There are pictures of those flowers in the documentary. The number of flowers is astounding. It's like they were just wall to wall. They filled a room with flowers. It was ridiculous.
You know how expensive flowers are? They sent thousands of dollars worth of flowers.
They had their own gardens as well, though. Keep in mind that they were cultivating land in Rajneeshpuram, so they might have been locally grown.
That's true. They're like, look, these flowers we grew for you, for treating our leader so well.
Thank you, North Carolina prison. We really appreciate you.
That's just another weird thing.
Yeah. So, anyway, Sheila's hiding out in Europe, somewhere in Europe, with a group of 25 lieutenants. Yeah. U.S., not a clue where she is. She's somewhere in Europe. Then an article comes out in a German magazine called Stern with an exclusive interview with Ma Anad Sheila. Oh. And then the FBI's like, oh, she's in Germany. Okay. Found her. Yeah. And she was in the Black Forest in Germany, specifically, which is actually really close to the Swiss border. So if she had been tipped off, she was ready to hop. Yeah. So in October 1985, Sheila was arrested in West Germany along with a few of her lieutenants and extradited to the U.S. on charges of immigration fraud, assault, and attempted murder. Wow. And suddenly the two were back in Oregon, awaiting prosecution.
Wow. But somehow they would not cross paths again.
They were tried separately.
That's crazy.
They were not tried together.
That makes sense.
And they had very different legal strategies, so they would not have been... they would not have crossed paths.
I feel like one of them's going to go for the insane plea, right?
Well, let's talk about it. Yeah. Let's talk about Rajneesh first, because he's the either the oblivious fool or he's the criminal mastermind. Yeah. So, November 8th, Rajneesh pleaded not guilty to 34 charges.
34 charges.
34 charges, including immigration fraud and marriage fraud. All right. If he was found guilty of all of his charges, he'd be looking at 175 years in prison.
Holy guacamole, that's 2 lifetimes.
That's 2 lifetimes. And that's just the tally. Nobody died. Nobody died. But with the entire 34, that's 175 years in prison. On top of that, $350,000 in fines.
Well, so I guess he just could use one of those watches that he had, right? He's like, he's
just like, here, take this. So he paid his $500,000 bail and was returned to Rajneeshpuram to await actual prosecution. So Rajneesh was actually encouraged by his lawyers to take an Alford plea. And for those of you who don't know what that is, an Alford plea is someone acknowledging that there is in fact enough evidence to convict, but it does not admit guilt. So basically it's like, you could try me for this, but I'm not guilty, but
you do got a lot of evidence.
But I do know that I will be sent to prison.
Wow.
Yeah. Another famous example of an Alford plea is West Memphis 3, if you're familiar with that case.
Not too much.
Basically, we'll talk about West Memphis 3. It's an episode entirely on its own, but it's another famous example of the Alford plea. But it basically means that you get a significantly reduced sentence.
Okay.
And basically you're like, I'm not going to waste your time. We know that you're going to convict me, so I'm going to take a really, really light sentence, and basically that'll do that.
Okay. But I'm not guilty.
But I'm not guilty. I didn't do it. I did not.
All right. I mean, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's not very common because it very seldom works.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one. So, along with the Alford plea, Rajneesh consented to one count of immigration fraud for his first medical visa. So, the only immigration fraud that he agreed to be tried for was the very first one he committed, admitting that he intended to permanently reside in the States after receiving medical treatment.
Gotcha. Okay.
He also received another count for participation in the sham marriage fraud cases, because that was at the very least something that he definitely knew about.
Yeah.
Rajneesh made a deal with the U.S. Attorney Office, and he was given a 10-year suspended sentence, which basically means that he didn't have to serve time, but if he committed another crime within a certain window, he would immediately be sent to prison for 10 years.
Okay.
So basically it's like time waiting is what a suspended sentence is.
Interesting.
He also received 5 years probation, so he was on a 5-year watch, and if he committed any crime within 5 years, that 10-year suspended sentence would kick in. And he also had $400,000 in fines, so more than they suspected that it was going to be for.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he also agreed to leave the States for the 5 years that he was on probation and not step on U.S. soil during that time.
Oh, I feel like he's going to violate that.
He was then immediately deported to Delhi, India on the 17th of November, 1985.
Interesting. Okay. All right, so he's gone. He's on probation.
Yes, so Sheila had a very different strategy. On the 22nd of July, 1986, Ma Anand Sheila pleaded guilty to first-degree assault, conspiracy to commit assault, arson, and illegal wiretapping.
Wow. All right.
She was sentenced to 3 20-year terms in federal prison, which was reduced to 4.5 years.
How the fuck?
I do not know. She was sentenced to 3 20-year terms that were going to be served concurrently, and it was reduced to 4.5 years.
That does not... The math on that doesn't add up. I'm not good at math, but that don't add up.
It don't check out.
No.
That doesn't check out.
Nope.
She was also fined $470,000. In December 1988, she was released on good behavior after only serving 29 months, which is 2.5 years for those who don't want to do the math.
What the heck?
So she was sentenced to 20 years, which was reduced to 4.5, and she only served 2.5.
That's criminal in and of itself.
That does not add up.
No, she poisoned people with salmonella.
She made salmonella and poisoned people, and she served 2.5 years. She committed arson.
Yeah, biological warfare.
She attempted assassination. She had a hit list.
2.5 years.
But
yeah, that's
2.5 years. After the 2.5 years, she was deported to West Germany.
Wow. All right, well, she's Germany's problem now. Hopefully she just never comes back.
She's Germany's problem now. All right. So, after all of the deporting was said and done, after the prosecution, after the Alford plea, after Sheila was sent to federal prison along with a couple of her lieutenants who helped her trying to commit assassination.
Yeah.
Basically, Rajneeshpuram was left with no leaders. So, Rajneeshpuram, all of the followers, all of the red robes, and all of the visitors, immigrants, people who would commit marriage fraud, they just began to trickle out, and eventually the property stood abandoned.
Really? All of these people just abandoned it, like...
Yeah. Rajneeshpuram was eventually left abandoned.
Okay.
Now, after all that, I bet you're wondering, what happened after.
I need to know.
So, let's focus on Sheila. So Sheila later married her third husband, a Swiss citizen named Urs Bernstiel, who was also a Rajneeshi.
Okay.
After marriage to Urs, she moved to Maisprach, Switzerland. There she bought and managed 2 nursing homes.
Ooh.
She was then convicted by a Swiss court in relation to the murder plot to kill Charles Turner, and she was found guilty, but sentenced to time served. So she didn't serve any time.
What the How does she keep getting off with nothing?
I do not know.
This woman did so much damage psychologically, like physically, biologically to our...
Yeah.
Stressful.
She, I will say this about Sheila. She is a very charismatic woman. And when you listen to her speak, she is very powerful. So she's a very small woman. She's very, like, non-threatening to look at.
Yeah.
But she speaks with a lot of passion. And she commands attention. So I assume it was a level of charisma.
Yeah.
And it was like, you've already served 2.5 years in federal prison in the United States. You've basically been living in fear in Switzerland. Like... So you're guilty of this crime, but you've already served your time.
Yeah.
So today she is 74 years old. She's still alive.
Wow.
And she actually uses old Rajneesh teachings in her nursing homes, which she still owns.
That's... Oh.
She actively cares for people with schizophrenia and dementia. So say what you will about Sheila, but at least she looks like she's trying to turn her life around.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where she is. She's living happily with her third husband. She's caring for people with schizophrenia, with dementia. She's actively caring for people in nursing homes. She, eats with them. She basically has her own little mini commune.
Of people that can't say no.
At least she's not harming anybody. So
yeah,
that's what's up with Sheila.
I'm still sussy-wussy of her.
I feel like you should be. She's a very powerful woman.
Yeah.
But as of right now, she is not inflicting harm. And
wow,
we'll be thankful for that.
I do think it's crazy though. You said she's 74 currently. So is Ed Kemper. They are the same age.
They are the same
age. How wild is that?
How's that for a fun twist?
Yeah, like the stuff is like happening at the same time, basically. Like,
yeah, I think it's like she was. I think they must have been born the same year. They've lived very different lives. Ed Kemper turned his life to evil. Sheila also turned her life to evil, but like
in a just different way.
She didn't kill anyone. Yeah, she just didn't kill anyone, but she tried. Oh, she tried.
She had no blood on her hands. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
She didn't, but not for lack of trying.
It's always crazy when you hear, like, different parts of history, like, happening, but it's like, you think, like, I don't know, sometimes, like, this happened in a different year, but it's like, this literally happened at the same time.
Yeah, these happened, so no wonder this cult forgot. So much happened during the same time. We got Ed Kemper, we had Dahmer, we had Jonestown, we had all of these other cults rampaging, and here's this crazy red robe cult that didn't hurt anyone. They intimidated a town, they took over Antelope, they poisoned the watering hole, but they didn't kill anyone.
Yeah.
This is a non-lethal cult, which is so strange to me. Nobody died.
Yeah. Like you said, and it's not for a lack of trying, it's just that it just never happened. Like, the stars never aligned, and that was just not the fate of this cult for some reason.
Yeah, the death never manifested, and then now they are a non-lethal cult, which is such an unusual thing. There's always some sort of lethality, because that's usually how cults are discovered.
Yeah.
But this one, the red flags were raised early. Nobody was hurt. Well, I mean, people were hurt, but then nobody was killed.
Fatally hurt, like you said. It was...
Yeah.
And not that I wish anyone would have died, but it's like, it just doesn't, like, it doesn't seem right that they get to live with the, like... the title of, like, a non-lethal cult, like you said, of this doomsday cult that, like, quote-unquote didn't actually hurt anyone. It's like, that bothers me a little bit, because they did do a lot of harm. They
hold 3 records for mass poisoning, marriage fraud, and wiretapping.
Yeah.
But they're non-lethal, so nobody talks about them. If one person had died, if one person had been killed,
it would have changed.
If they had succeeded in killing the doctor or Charles Turner or anybody, this would be the most talked about cult. This would have overshadowed Jonestown.
Absolutely. I really think that is, like you said, the difference between what gave so many other cases, people, what have you, it gave that notoriety versus this, where it didn't. For some reason, that, like, morbid curiosity in humans, if a death didn't occur, it's just, it doesn't make the cut. I don't know, but I do think that specific detail is the reason that it is not as prominent of a case.
Oh, I 100% agree. I would put money on the fact that because this was, like, all they did was terrorize a 75-person town in Oregon, and they poisoned a couple of salad bars. Like, that's the most, like, oh god, they poisoned salad bars? Did anyone die? No? Oh,
it's almost like comparing to, like, you know how, like, stalking cases just don't get taken seriously until someone gets killed, and then it becomes a big deal, and it's like, oh, if only we would have known. And it's like, this woman was being stalked for, like, literally 20 years by the same guy who said this is going to end with one of us dead, and no one did anything until one of them was dead. Like, it's just, that's what that, like, reminds me of. It's just so crazy that until a death occurs, there's just no accountability that gets taken in certain situations. And this is a perfect example of that. Sheila got 2.5 years, and what did...
And she lives happily in Switzerland.
Yeah, like, I don't know. There's just something weird about that to me.
Well, not to worry, because I do have some weird information for you, because we have not talked about what happened to Rajneesh after. Okay. So let's get into it. Let's get into more hooliganry.
Yes.
So, Rajneesh had a very different time of it. He was welcomed back to India with open arms because he left a lot of followers back in the Pune ashram.
Okay.
They were like, oh my god, you're back! It's so good to see you! It's been 7 years! Where have you been?
Oh my gosh.
Where have you been? We've missed you! We've been doing everything you told us to. The bathrooms are spotless.
Look at us all dressed in red! And he's like, oh yeah, we don't do that anymore.
No, well. Now hold on. All
right.
Suspend your disbelief. Once he was back in India, he quickly denounced the United States. He showed interest in purchasing land for a new commune site in the South Pacific that Marlon Brando, weirdly enough, was trying to sell.
That's a weird cameo. Cool.
There you go. It's the cameo at the end of the story. Yeah. The property was later deemed unusable because the South Pacific is rampant with hurricanes, and that just wasn't going to fly for the cult. So... right after that, Rajneesh moved to Nepal with his non-Indian followers. He moved to Nepal when his non-Indian followers had their visas revoked, because that's still happening. India's like, you want to go see the cult leader? No, you can't be here. So he moved to Nepal, and then shortly after, he moved to Crete in Greece.
Okay.
He was arrested shortly after and then promptly let go. He then flew to Geneva, then Stockholm, and then London. But he was refused entry in every state.
Wow, they were like, sorry, we just, we've heard about Joe, we just don't want you. You seem like a great guy, but not for our country.
Yeah, like, we're just not in the market for a cult leader at this time. Thank you so much, but we'll call you, don't call us. So after London, he tried Canada, where he was refused landing permission and had to turn around and flew to Ireland. He was allowed to stay in Ireland for 2 weeks and then had to remove himself.
Wow. I'm surprised you made it the 2 weeks.
Yeah, they were like, you can be here, but not for long.
Yeah.
He was then granted permission to stay in Uruguay, and he did, giving public talks there until June 19th, where he was invited to leave for no official reason.
He was invited to leave. I love how, like, a polite that is.
Yeah, that's what the specific wording was. He was invited to leave for no official reason.
Hi, yes, we enjoyed your stay so much that we actually invite you to leave now.
Yeah, like, could you just remove yourself from Uruguay?
That is the politest fuck off that you could ever receive.
Yeah, so thank you. So Uruguay off the cards now. He then tried to set up shop in Jamaica, but upon landing, he was given 12 hours to leave.
I love this quick turnaround time. Like, they know immediately that he's there, and they're just like, thank you so much for your short stay. We'll see you next time, never.
Yeah, they're like, ooh, yeah, we know about you. No thanks. Not having that in our countries, respectively.
That is so funny.
So then, after leaving Jamaica, tail between his legs, he returned to Bombay, India on the 30th of July, 1986.
All right, it's back in where he should be.
Back in India. So in January 1987, Rajneesh officially returned to the ashram in Pune, where he held discourses every evening. His health, however, began to deteriorate again, because of course this is where his diabetes had kicked in. This is where his allergies were. So he is back in this environment, and his body is not taking to it well.
Gotcha, okay.
It was back in the ashram in Pune, the book publishing continued, and group therapy resumed, but it was missing the violence part. So that part had been completely phased out. So basically things returned to how they were before. It was also at this time that the ashram underwent massive expansion. So they built a lot more buildings. They decided to repurpose all of their onboard living areas into more like therapy areas. No more large communes were built because the followers in this particular time period preferred ordinary living and independent living. So they didn't want to live in the communes. They wanted to visit as like a retreat, but then return to their normal lives, without the red robes.
Gotcha.
In 1989, the famous red robes were reintroduced as a mandatory piece of your uniform.
Wow. I spoke too soon earlier. He's like,
Yeah,
I miss us all in red. We used to look so pretty.
We were so coordinated. Yeah, so the red robes had been optional since 1985. Now they were mandatory.
Wow.
They also introduced new colors.
Oh.
Yeah, so they introduced white robes for meditation, so you could indicate that you were only there for meditative purposes if you wore white.
Okay.
And leaders of the commune now wore black robes.
Oh.
So if you were a lieutenant or a member of the inner circle or Rajneesh himself, you could wear black.
Okay.
So, November 1987, Rajneesh attributed his continuously ailing health to poisoning by the U.S. authorities while he was in state prison.
Wow, after they sent all those flowers for taking such good care of him?
Yeah, they were like, actually, they didn't take good care of him. His tailored vegetarian meals, poisoned.
Poisoned. Salmonella.
No, it gets worse than that. His doctors and lawyers suspected that he had been the authorities had deliberately irradiated his mattress. So he was dying of radiation poisoning.
They microwaved the mattress and then gave it back to him.
They microwaved that mattress so hard.
Then shoved some batteries in it.
They have no evidence for these claims.
I mean, you would know if you were on an irradiated mattress.
I feel like you would know, but I don't know. I'm not an expert on radiation. I'm not that kind of engineer.
That's true. That's fair. I can't claim to be either, but I have a feeling that you would there'd be some indication pretty quickly if that was the case.
Something that would tip you off to an irradiated mattress.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like the side effects of irradiation, like of radiation, it happens like quickly, right? Like there's like that kind of stuff.
I think it depends on how much you're exposed to. I think it's the dosage of radiation.
That's fair. I feel like if they microwaved the mattress, it'd be pretty radioactive.
I just think it's interesting that they radiated his mattress in 1985, 1986, and he's only starting to show symptoms in 1987.
Yeah.
I was like, that's some delayed irradiation.
Yeah.
But there are other theories to why his health was deteriorating.
Which are?
The other theory that was posed by the U.S. government basically being like, it's not an irradiated mattress. It was HIV, chronic diabetes, which he had, and stress.
The stress, I believe, absolutely. The HIV, I mean...
He was the sex guru.
I was just about to say, I mean, after enough orgies, and what happened to I thought we had rubber gloves and condoms. Did he not?
That was for AIDS.
Yeah, but did he not practice that?
Do you think a cult leader follows his own teaching?
I'm just saying. I don't know.
I think he was telling his followers that they should do that, but I think after it was laughed off, it's like, this is a gay disease. He was like, you guys are right. Everyone, back to your orgies and your free sex.
But if it's an orgy, there's like everyone's gay. Like there's just everything everywhere all the time. Like so that's.
But yeah, I think like he forgot who he was leading and what his teachings were for a hot second. It's like basically his teachings are love whoever you want, be whoever you want to be open, be with multiple partners if you want.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yeah, but this disease is the gay disease and we're fine.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm like, HIV just seems like such a, no pun intended, but it seems like such a positive, like, direction to go.
I think that these counter theories might be onto something. Yeah. He might have had HIV. He definitely had diabetes, and he was definitely stressed. So,
yeah.
Do with that what you will.
I think they're onto something too.
1989. Rajneesh shifts his teachings to Zen. So we're no longer a doomsday cult. We're all about Zen.
Okay, the end of the world's just not happening anymore, and we're good.
Well, the 1990s is right around the corner, and nobody's going into nuclear war yet. So I think we're just gonna mellow out, see what happens.
You gotta roll with the punches.
Yeah. So while he shifted his teachings to Zen, he also spoke about communism and possibility and opportunities in Russia. He was like, you know what? Russia, not that bad a place. Pretty good. Could, really dig in it. Maybe we could go there. Maybe we could live there.
All right.
Yeah. So, December 1989, he changed his name again for the last time.
So
he was no longer Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, but simply Osho Rajneesh.
Osho. That's much easier. I wish we could have gone by that the whole time.
Osho Rajneesh. And it was later shortened to simply Osho, and Osho means master in Japanese.
Oh, of course it does. Never mind.
Yeah.
I don't want to call him that anymore.
That's why I have not referred to him as Osho this entire time. So, in April 1989, he gave his last public discourse, and after that preferred to sit in silence with his followers. So it was kind of like almost a public silence, but it wasn't. It was just he didn't want to speak anymore. He just sort of vibed with his followers.
That's fair.
You know,
talking's hard, man, when you're weak.
Yeah. It was also around this time that he started suggesting that perhaps a few of his audience members were poisoning him with some sort of evil magic.
Oh, okay, so the delusions and the paranoia is starting.
As of right now, no evidence of sorcery has been found.
I'm shocked.
I know. They're still looking. On the 19th of January, 1990, Osho dies at the age of 58.
I was so curious. Holy crap, that's young.
He died at the age of 58. Official cause of death was listed as heart failure, but the commune released a statement saying that he died after falling prey to the poisoning inflicted in the United States.
Definitely, it was at the wizardry.
It was not the sorcery, it was the irradiated mattresses that got him.
Yeah.
He was cremated, and an epitaph was put up in the ashram in Pune. It reads, "Never born, never died. Only visited this planet Earth between December 11th, 1931 and January 1990.
Wow. Never born, never died. Just visited.
Isn't that like very, like, it's very Heaven's Gate,
It
isn't it?
is.
It's like the only visited place. We're getting a little alien now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, wow. It's like hauntingly beautiful if it wasn't for him almost, you know?
Yeah. I also think it's kind of funny that his doomsday said that the world would end in 1990, and he died in 1990.
So his world did end.
Yeah, his world did end. He died 01/19/1990.
That's crazy, actually.
It's kind of spooky. So we're going to take a couple of things out of your hat now. So,
Okay.
Shortly before Osho's death, he formed the Inner Circle.
Okay.
Officially, which consisted of 20 followers who would become his successors.
Okay.
It's no surprise that the majority of members were from the Hollywood crowd, including his caretaker and doctor. There's also a lot of mystery surrounding his death, because of course he was unwell. He's been unwell for pretty much this entire journey, but there's also a lot of speculation that maybe his inner circle had something to do with his death.
They were tired of getting orders from him and went, you know what? He's getting old and frail.
It's possible that it was an assisted suicide.
Yeah,
Because
I
he
was
was
wondering
suffering.
that. Yeah.
It's possible that once he established the Inner Circle, the Hollywood crowd had the power that they needed to take over, and they ended him. It's not known. There's a lot of speculation on what happened.
Yeah.
But as of right now, nothing has come forward.
I mean, like, even, it wouldn't even need to be the whole Inner Circle, right? I mean, like, his, like, second in command and his doctor were married. So all it takes is the two of them to just be like, dude, we could usurp this entire thing. Like,
I believe his second in command was Hasya. She's dead. She passed away, and I think she had medical issues. But then maybe that's something to look into, is if the doctor is still alive and his two primary patients being his wife and his spiritual leader. I will also say that he didn't want to talk during the documentary, so
Interesting.
just something to think about.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of questions surrounding Osho's death. But for now, that's the closing chapter of Chandra Mohan Jain, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and Osho.
Wow. Jeez.
But I do have one last little silver lining, because we like to end on a positive note.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Antelope, Oregon.
Yeah.
So when we left Antelope, they had their 75 people. They were taken over, and then basically they had their entire city painted red, and it was changed to the town of Rajneesh.
Yeah.
Well, suddenly Rajneeshpuram is abandoned,
Yeah.
and nobody's there to kind of enforce this name of Rajneesh. So on November 6, 1985, the survivors of the Rajneeshi occupation held a vote to restore the name Antelope to the town.
Good. Okay.
In a 34-0 unanimous vote, the original name was restored in 1986.
Wow. You said 34-0?
And I say 34-0 because the original 75 that lived there like half of those people left.
I mean, like, this didn't sound like a great place to leave, or a great place to live, so I'd probably want to leave too.
A lot of people left when the town changed to Rajneesh, so the occupation changed from 75 to 40.
I think the minute that he started throwing people in jail and stuff like that, I would have been like, I can't be here. Like, I'm not gonna, like, have this, like, crazy religious leader throw me in jail in my own town. No.
Yeah. So
I would have got out of there too, I get it. But it's crazy that there's 34 surviving members of this town.
I know, and I think there were more people there, and I think they didn't want to vote, but, like, that's just politics for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, Antelope was officially reinstated, which was very easy because the U.S. Postal Service never actually recognized the original name change of Rajneesh, so it's like nothing happened.
Great. Fantastic.
They were like, we're still delivering the post to the same place.
That's so
Rajneeshpuram, the ranch, had its ownership reverted to the state of Oregon for non-payment of taxes, so they didn't pay taxes, so they claimed the property. And it was later sold to a Montana billionaire, Dennis Washington, in 1991.
Dennis Washington.
It is now a Christian youth camp owned by Youth Life, known as the Washington Family Ranch. So it is once again a religious community, but this time it's Christian.
How bad do you think those 34 people in Antelope are sweating when another...
they're like, what?
They're like, again? Oh my god. Like, can you tell us
keep
you're
an
not
eye on
crazy?
Antelope. Let's make sure that they're okay. But, like, as far as we know, it's basically a youth camp for young, upcoming Christians. But they're not a sex cult. It's not... Apparently, all they do is preach abstinence and, like, go on, like, obstacle courses. So,
Yeah, abstinence obstacle courses.
So, yeah, if they're doing good, great. But keep an eye out on this Washington Family Ranch because maybe we're looking at Rajneeshpuram 2.0.
I really am sure that they're a totally, like you said, fine organization. But it is just like one of those things where it's like, are you sure? Because we just had this problem.
I'm sure that when they moved in, they were like the population of 40 went down to 20. They were just like,
not again. Like, no,
not again. No. But yeah, that's the story of Rajneeshpuram. That's my cult. That's my non-lethal cult. That's my cult leader, mass poisoning, mass wiretapping, mass marriage fraud, hooliganry. That is Rajneeshpuram.
There's honestly nothing you could have said ever that I would have guessed half of this, like, let alone, like, man,
yeah,
this was a wild story.
It is insane that it happened. It happened in the 80s. It happened very close to our lifetime.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously documented. There are news reports, there's documentation, there's film footage. They had the movie that premiered, we talked about this in part 1, there was a movie that premiered in cinemas showing what these group sessions were like.
Yeah.
That people were just like, I'm gonna see what this is about. Oh my goodness, it's an orgy. And it's like there's so much, and there was so much push, and it got all the way up to, like, federal government, and then it just sort of disappeared because nobody died. Nobody died.
God, that's just it's so, honestly, it's spooky. It's just crazy how quickly a group like that with that much power and influence, like, they were literally, like you said, ready to just, like, eat the city up, and they were bringing in all sorts of people outside of the country, and they were finding ways to do so many things under the table, and when they needed to, they just completely disbanded and just left, and that's the scariest thing of all.
Yeah, they did a lot of damage, and so just because nobody died didn't mean people didn't get hurt. They inflicted terror. They were intimidating. They pulled money and influence, and they basically took advantage of very low-bar political systems, and they ran rampant. And it wasn't any act by the U.S. government or Antelope or anyone. It was their own behavior that ended up being their downfall. Mm-hmm. Like, if Sheila and Osho had been on the same page, if they were still on the same page, right, who knows what Rajneeshpuram would be?
Yeah,
who knows
absolutely.
How many people would have died? If they had just stayed loyal to each other, if they hadn't thrown each other under the bus, like, who knows what could have happened?
Yeah, or imagine just, like, them succeeding on some of these early attempts that they would have went through. I mean, that's what we see with, like, these killers and stuff, is they do it once, they realize they can get away with it, and then they keep doing it. So if Sheila would have done this, and this assassination task force would have been successful, who knows how many more they would have gone on to actually go through with before they would have actually gotten apprehended. It's chilling to think about.
It's very scary, and thankfully we won't know. We don't know, but that's it. That's the story of Rajneeshpuram. Nobody died, thankfully. Thank goodness nobody died. And, you know, they caught the signs of the cult really early. But did they only catch it because it wasn't a Christian cult? Possibly. Did they catch it because they stood out like a sore thumb in wintry-ass Oregon? Possibly. But I definitely would recommend, guys, if you have Netflix, if you have access to the documentary, I highly recommend it. It does a way better job of covering the history than I ever could, because I wasn't there, and this documentary actually interviews people in Antelope. It interviews Sheila. Sheila's in the documentary. It interviews some of the assassins that were involved. It has talks with them. It has talks with community members. It has talks with politicians, lawyers. It has a talk with the city planner who was in charge at the time of the arson. It's wild who they got involved with. It's really worth the watch. It gives you an idea of what it was like better than I ever could. So that was my biggest source, and it's Wild Country on Netflix. It was very, very good. Wow. Highly recommend.
I'm definitely gonna have to look that up.
It's 6 hours long, so it's basically the entire length of Bonnie and Clyde. So go nuts. But yeah, that's my story. That's my cult. That's my last episode for the season.
Man, I think that was a home run, honestly. Like, that was a very, very insane case, and you covered it so well. I think it made for a fantastic two-parter, a great way for you to be able to end your season 1. I cannot wait for us to pick up on season 2. I'm so excited.
Season 2, here we come. But first, we've got to go through your amazing hauntings and spooky locations. I know it's been a hot minute. I don't know if you have a teaser ready for us yet.
I do not have a teaser ready. I gotta say, I was really excited to get this category, but this is another one that I think I'm like really floundering at picking one, so I'm still kind of teetering between a few of them currently. Okay. So I can't tease because I don't know exactly what I'm picking yet.
That's okay. We'll just tease that it is in fact a haunting / spooky location, and what a way to end this amazing season that we are having.
I agree. I'm very, very excited. I got some ideas. I really do want to end the season on a bang, so I want to make sure that whatever case I pick, it's a good one.
No matter what you pick, it's a guaranteed home run. So
ma'am,
it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I can't wait. I can't wait to get into season 2. I can't wait to get stuck. I gotta get stuck into my recap notes. So we've got a lot of work to do. The season's not over yet.
Season's not over yet. I know. I'm so excited for season 2, and we still got a whole other episode, a whole ass recap to do. There's changes we gotta go over, extra stuff we gotta cover. There's a lot brewing in the back. So.
Yeah, keep your eyes out, guys. Spookery. We're just getting started.
We're just getting started.
We're like Rajneeshpuram in Oregon in 1981. We're just getting started. The poisonings begin No, that's a joke. Don't come for me.
No, we are going to do good things with Spookery. Very excited to see where it goes.
Yeah.
Just love being able to do this with you, ma'am. Thanks for going on this journey with me.
Ma'am, thank you for sitting down for 4 hours and listening to me talk about a non-lethal cult. I've been wanting to tell you this story for so long, and now it is done. Now you know. Now you're with me. We've done Cult 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Gosh.
That's it.
Yeah, this would have never been a cult, I think, that I would have picked, because I've never heard of it. So I'm really glad that you covered it today, because I definitely learned a thing or two.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this one either. This was suggested to me by my mother. She watched the documentary before me, and she was like, "You never gonna fucking believe it. They poisoned the salad bar." And that's all I knew this cult as. It was the salad bar cult. That's all my family refers to it as, the salad bar cult. And then I started doing my own research on it, and I'm like, the salad bar is the least of my problems. There's so much more. So, yeah, that's it. That's the story in Balamory. Wouldn't you like to know?
I think our Spookery listeners are going to enjoy listening to that just as much as I did. And I'm so excited to hear the feedback on it, because, ma'am, this was a doozy. This was a...
Yeah. Well, would you like to tell the people where they can find us, Mia?
Abso-freaking-lutely. So, Spookery listeners, if you want to find us on any social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you can find us at Spookery Podcast.
Sure can.
And lady, do you want to tell them where you can send us any sort of email, comment, question?
Yeah, if you would like to contact us, please do it in the form of smoke signals. No, please, you can send us a Gmail at spookerypodcast@gmail.com. That is our primary email account. You can send us anything there. Questions, concerns, corrections, additions, anything And you can also, please, if you guys are liking the season, if you've loved the story so far, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. It really helps us through the podcast algorithm, lets us know that we're doing a good job, and we'll love you for it. And yeah.
Absolutely, couldn't have said it better myself. Those reviews really do help us out, guys. Like Lady said, the algorithm. Unfortunately, we're all slaves to the algorithm, so we gotta feed it what it wants.
Mm-hmm. And this time, it's human souls.
It is. And we'll find out more on next episode.
That's it. That's your hauntings and spooky locations. It's the podcast algorithm.
The podcast algorithm. It's all around us. That's the spookiest part about it. It's not one set location.
It's in your house.
The call's coming from inside the house.
Oh, God.
All right.
And on that very spooky, very chilling note, until next time.
Stay spooky, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
It is quite the tale, let me tell you something.
Let me tell you something.
I am about to tell you something.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to be told something.